Hello everybody. In this video, we are going to be talking about how we can use this handy tool that I call like our data manipulator. And it allows us to do a couple things in statistics. So one thing that it allows us to do is to change wide formatted data into stacked data. And it also allows us to create a plausible data set based upon some summary statistics. Okay, so if we are doing that, we kind of first have to have a problem. So let's go read this one real quick. So it says, assume that a sample is used to estimate a population mean mu, and it wants us to find the 99% confidence interval for a sample size of 426. Okay, so we're dealing with just a single sample. We have a single sample mean, and we have a standard deviation of 9.6, and it wants us to input in a confidence interval. Okay, so it wants us to ultimately find these two values, so 69.4 and 71.8. Now, we can do this with our calculations and all of our variables that we have by hand, but I also thought it's like, hey, we've got some really good tools that we can use that will like automatically calculate a lot of this, but it has to have a data set. So what we're going to use is we're going to generate a data set that produces a sample mean and a standard deviation for a specific sample size. So we're going to start off with our sample mean of 70.6. We have a standard deviation of 9.6, and we've got a sample size of 426. And we're just going to hit generate data. And so it goes down and it generates this entire big data set for you, all 400 and some odd data points. Okay, so now that we've got our data set quite large, we are going to do Control Shift down and we're going to copy our data. Now, if you noticed, I did not copy the value, the label, and that's because inside of Jamovi, it is really handy to not select the label, and we'll put the label in just a second. So we'll just open up a new file of Jamovi. Let's minimize this one. We'll make this one nice and full size. We're going to just paste this into column A, and we're just going to relabel this as like values. Sure, that's fine. Now we know that we can do some exploration and we can double check to make sure did our sample mean and our sample size and everything pop out to what we wanted it to be. And if we look at our sample size, yep, we have 426, we've got our mean that we wanted, and we have our standard deviation that we wanted. So our data set reflects the summary data that we just got. Now the nice thing is now we can go into statistics and ask for the standard error and for the confidence interval. And we got to double check to see what was the confidence level that we wanted. We wanted a 99% confidence level, so let's go 99. And at this point, we can look at our 99% confidence interval, and we got 69.4 and 71.8. So that's a really handy way how instead of having to go through and like do these calculations by hand, we can say it's like, hey, let's create a data set that has these summary statistics that these summary statistics could describe, and then let's have Jamovi do it for us. Now, of course, we can always go into Excel and we can do for a confidence interval, it's equal to our x bar plus or minus our t critical times the standard error, and we can go through and calculate all those things, or we can leverage the tools that we have. Anyhow, I thought this was a handy tool that we could generate a data set based upon some summary statistics. Okay, so that's how you do it with like one sample that we're dealing with. Let's go to a little bit of a different one. Let's deal with what if we're dealing with two samples. So here we have two samples, a group of 18 and a group of 28, and it wants us to calculate out our test statistic. Now we can do this. There are the equations that we can do by hand, or we can create a data set. Let's go create a data creator. So I'm going to delete out these yellow cells. Let's zoom in on this again. Let's zoom out just a little bit so we have a little bit better viewing. Okay, there we go. So our first sample size, we can put this as 18, and then it says that we have a sample mean of 63.2, and we have a sample standard deviation of 12.5. And then for our second sample mean, we have 79.6. We have a sample standard deviation of 15.9, And we have a sample size of this one of 28. Okay, fabulous. So let's go ahead and click our generate our data. It should generate our whole data. So it looks like that we should have 46 data points, and it goes all the way down to 47. That's great. I want to highlight across, do Control Shift down, copy those, go back over to Jamovi. Let's do this again. Let's go to our data. And in column, we'll put it in column B. Let's paste those. And we'll name this as, let's name column C as like groups. And we'll do column B as, what are we measuring? We don't even know what we're measuring. It's just a generic one. We'll call it this B values, just to have something unique. Okay, so let's open this up just a little bit. Let's go back to Jamovi. Widen that out just a hair. We'll lift that up. Okay, and now let's try to go ahead and calculate out just our test statistic. I'm not going to go through and do this whole thing. I just want to show you how we can generate a sample data set. So first of all, let's double check. Let's go to our analyses. Let's go to our descriptives. And here, let's go ahead and grab the B values, and we're going to go by groups. And let's see what we got here. Let's see. We got 63.2. We got 79.6. We've got our standard deviations of 12.5 and a standard deviation of 15.9. Sample sizes, everything checks out. So this data set produces this set of summary statistics. So now we can go ahead and let's do a t-test. And if we look at our alternative hypothesis, it says mu1 is less than mu2. So let's go to our independent samples. And we can do our B values over here in our dependent. We can go to our groups, put it in the grouping variable. We want our hypothesis to say that group 1 is less than group 2. Let's go back and double check to make sure our groups are actually labeled group 1 and group 2. How would we do that? We'll go back to our data. Oh yeah, group 1 shows up first and then group 2 shows up, so that looks good. Go back to our analyses. And we have group 1 is less than group 2. That matches up there. Our alpha level is 0.1. So if we do that, that only pops up if we were asking for like the mean difference and we wanted a confidence interval. We would then want a 90% confidence interval. Okay, let's see how we did with all of our output. So our test statistic that we're looking for is negative 3.698, and we got negative 3.69 rounded 8. So again, instead of having to go through and do these calculations by hand with a summary data, we can take our summary data and create a data set. Okay, let's do another little tool in here that can help us out. Let's go ahead and do so if we have even more groups that we are comparing, I have this data creator it's for ANOVA analysis, and it can handle up to, let's see, how many groups can it handle? It can handle up to 5 groups. And if you want to relabel the groups, you can change these G1, G2, G3 to something else. And you still just put in the X bar, the sample standard deviation, and the sample size, and it will generate a whole bunch of groups all together for you. So anyways, that is super handy that you can get all of that right there. Let's go to our next problem in here that we are looking at. So this one is, okay, so this is an ANOVA. They actually have provided you the summary data, but notice that this summary data is in wide format. Okay, sometimes it gives us the treatments and the columns, but we want a variable that's called our grouping variable that has which treatment it is, and then all of the measurements in the other column. Let's go now to our wide to stacked. So I have a little bit of some instructions here. So it says first, paste the data here in the sandbox if you need to organize it first. So we can just paste it in the sandbox, make sure that the formatting looks correct. So I'm just going to highlight my data, copy it, come over to my sandbox. You can literally go anywhere inside the sandbox. We're going to paste it, and yeah, that stuff looks pretty good. So at this point, it says, then move to columns L through P. So L through P is where we take our wide data, and it says note L1 through P1 must be the group names. Okay, so we have group name treatment A, treatment B, treatment C. Those are our group names. And note that this is only good for 5 groups and 1,000 observations per group. That's a lot of observations for what we're doing. That's probably going to be enough. So we're going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to come over. I'm going to do like a right click or like a 2-finger click here so I get some options, and I'm going to paste as values here. Just paste as values. So this first one is treatment A, treatment B, treatment C. And if I scroll over now it has, okay, all of my values of A, and then all of my values of B, and then all my values of C in just 2 columns. Fabulous. That's exactly what we are interested in. If we are looking to do this, we've got a bunch. Sorry. Let's go ahead and look at like our F ratio. Let's go ahead and copy in our data. So we're just going to copy that column of data, or those 2 columns of data. We're going to copy it. And let's come back over to Jamovi. Let's go to our data. I'm going to paste these in, paste, and we're going to call column D, we'll call it ANOVA values. And then in E, we're going to call them ANOVA groups. Okay, that looks good to me. Perfect. When we do this, this is running an ANOVA test. So let's go to our analyses. We want to go to our ANOVA test. One-way or ANOVA, they both work. I kind of like the ANOVA one, gives us a little more options to work with. I'm going to say the ANOVA values are a dependent variable, and the ANOVA groups is our factors. And if we want to, I want to see like the overall model test. And let's grab and shuffle this over and see our ANOVA. So we've got our ANOVA table down here, and it's asking for an F value, and it wants 11.6 repeating, and the F statistic that we get over here is 11.6 repeating. So this is really handy that what it does is that it takes your ANOVA data and it puts it into a format that Jamovi can handle, because Jamovi does not like wide data in order to do your ANOVA. It likes it in stacked. And so once again, I mean, that was just really simple inside of Excel, where what did we do? We first pasted our data into the sandbox, made sure that it kind of looked good in that sometimes when you paste in these labels, if they don't get copied over correctly, sometimes they go over multiple cells. So this is a way to just paste it in and make it all look good. And then we copy it and paste it special as just values over here so that each column represents a specific group. Those group ones are in blue, and then underneath are the actual values. And then it reorganizes it for you so that the values are in a single column and the groups are in a single column. Super handy. Okay, let's go look at what if we are dealing with proportional data. We can do that as well. So I have a data creator tab at the bottom of Excel. If you go down over here, I have it for 1 proportions or 2 proportions. Let's go ahead and click on 1 proportion. So in our group, we're going to have 2 different levels, or like 2 different factors, and like if we are having successes or failures. And so we have a sample size of 311 in which there are 82 successes. Okay, so we're going to change this level 1. We'll have that be our 82. And then level 2 down here is I'm going to do a little equation. Let me zoom in real quick. For this equation, I'll just hit equals 311 minus the 82 that we had. I'll hit enter, and now it provides me the different, like how many successes and how many failures. Okay, I'm going to generate the data. And it says that it wrote, okay, all of the levels that I needed. And I'm going to click on this first one here, Control-Shift down, copy all of that, and then let's go over to Jamovi with our data set that we created. Okay, let's paste it into another column. So let's just paste it right here. So this is our level 1 and level 2s. And Notice how we have our data in here. The factor level, if we double click on it, we actually want to make sure that we are testing the right thing. We can test either level 1 or level 2. It just depends which one is in the first position over here. And you can just change it by literally clicking on the levels and swapping things out, like literally clicking on level 1, push it down, or click on level 1 and push it up so that we have it in the position that we want it to be. Okay, so we've got that in position now. We've got it so that our level 1 is our factor 1. And we can now go to our analyses. We can go over to our frequencies. And we're doing a one sample proportions test. And we're going to do just two outcomes. There's a success or there's a failure. We had that in column F. We're going to pull that over. And the hypothesis is that the proportion of those successes is going to be less than 0.35. We're going to make that less than. And we needed a test statistic. The test statistic here says negative 3.192. Let's see what we got. We got for this one, scrolling all the way down to the bottom. Oh, did it run the actual test for us? We've got the proportion. We've got the p-value. Let's see. Let's see what we've got. Confidence intervals. I wonder if it's going to give us our test statistic. Looks like we might have to dive in a little bit to figure out how we get the test statistic, but the p-value that we got, we do have the correct p-value of 0.0007, which is really great. We got 0.0007. So it looks like that Jamovi, at least the default hypothesis test right now, doesn't want to show you the z-score, but we might be able to track that one down. Sometimes we have some extra little calculations that we can get in there. I think if we go, might have to do a little bit of an add-on. We can track that down later, but it does do the calculations correctly how you want it to do. Okay, last one that we've got is we have a two proportions test where we are testing two proportions against each other. Okay, we now have our data creator for two proportions. We go click on that guy. Now it just has, okay, we're going to have the number of successes and failures from the first group and the number of failures and successes from the second group. So our first group successes was 163, and the second group successes was 57. Yes, looks like 57. And then our sample size, in order to get the number for 2, we'll have to do 412 minus the number of successes. That'll give us our number of failures. And then over here, we can change out this calculation to be 226 minus that 57. And so we have 169 failures. Okay, so we're going to generate our data. Okay, gave us a whole big data generation. Click OK. We've got our levels and our groups. We're going to do Control-Shift down. We're going to copy all of that, copy, and let's bring it over into Jamovi. Okay, so inside of Jamovi, let's go ahead and paste in our data once again. Let's go ahead and paste it. And oops, I accidentally copied the labels right there. So I'm going to undo that because Jamovi does not like having, they want the labels above where the data is being actually stored. So let's go back in here, actually highlight it and copy it correctly. Let's go to the top again. I need to select L1, G1, Control-Shift down, and now copy that. Okay, great. So now I'm back over into Jamovi. Let's paste it in. Paste. Okay, so now I'm going to call H. We're going to call this our groups. And over here, we're going to call this one our levels. So between the two groups, we're going to compare probably like our level 1. Let's see what it asks for. It asks for a test statistic. We are looking for 3.645. Let's go look at the analyses that we can do. We're going to click on the analysis, and we're going to run over to frequencies, and we're going to do a contingency table this time because we have two groups and two levels. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. Let's kind of blow this up for right now. The rows we want to be the levels, and the groups we want to be the columns. That'll help us get it into the format that we want. And we'll give it a second to think. Okay, so it's got 412. It's got all of those. That looks really good. Let's go grab some of our statistics and what we want. We want to do a z-test for the difference in two proportions. We'll get rid of the chi-squared for right now. We really don't need that. We wanted to see or 3.645 as our z-test. And what did we get? 3.645. Worked out just really nicely. So yeah, so in order to do all of these, the only thing that you really need to do if you want the raw data instead of like the summary statistics is you fill in these little parts, and I'll put in little blurbs over here to give like a little bit of explanation too of how to run them. But this is how we go through and we can create like we can create a data set that reflects the summary statistics so we can use some more of our tools instead of having to do it by hand. Anyhow, super handy tool. I hope that you guys use it a lot, and I will talk to you guys later. Enjoy.